What's up, world, man? Once again, we are back here. This is going to be part three of this series of the science and sociology of man's connection to the universe. And today we're going to focus on interfacing with this holographic universe as well as tuning into Christ consciousness. So let's begin with the interface. Um, we'll do a quick little backtrack. Like I said, from the first video, we spoke on influence. In the second video, we spoke on the process by which this influence moves throughout the universe or moves through us through the universe. In this video, we're going to be dealing with, like I said, the actual interface and interfacing with this universe of how that influence not operates, but how, yeah, the ability of activating influence via our interfacing process. All right, so let's just get to it. The interface is the physical body. Um, Tupac had a song, what was it, Blasphemy? The end of the song, one of the last parts of the last verse, he said, "Is heaven just another door?" He said, I asked this here and hope heaven can see my heart is pure. Is heaven just another door?" And I think he was on to something with that. Because if we take what many religions and spiritual beliefs hold commonality, that the soul, the spirit is eternal, that we were in existence prior to coming into this physical realm, and even after we depart from this physical realm, there's a part of it that will still be in existence, that will still go on. If we accept that understanding, then that is the answer to Tupac's question. Heaven is just another door, okay? And we all understand the door out of this life. That's death, okay? But the door into this life is birth. So let's start there, okay? Um, Everybody knows about the sperm and the egg, okay? You are not a piece of sperm, nor are you the egg, okay? What the sperm is, when you see that little head or the little squiggly thing, what the sperm is, that is your physical body not yet activated, okay? That's your physical body not yet activated. When does this physical body get activated? Well, when sperm enters the egg of the woman, first thing that happens is there's a flash of light. This is something that's been documented. This has been, again, I'm not just talking out my ass. Everything we're talking about or speaking on are all things that are referenced in science and in our reality or in society. So the minute the sperm and the egg collide, there's a flash that goes out, like an electrical pulse, an electrical current. And then after that, heartbeat. Okay? So what happens there? When that sperm and egg collide, a portal is activated, which between the physical and the non-physical realms, okay? Your spirit is not sitting around in somebody's ball sack waiting to be skeeted out, okay? Your spirit is waiting for the proper portal to open, or once sperm and egg collide and that flash happens, then heartbeat comes. Heartbeat is the way that sonogram, the doctors know that a woman is actually pregnant. They know there's actually life in her body because they detect the heartbeat, okay? Even before it's fully developed, that heartbeat is really the first concept of life, the first proof of life. Okay, that's when you're actually in this physical realm. Okay, even if you get aborted or if you die in labor, in the process of labor, you are still existing in this physical realm at that point, regardless of what common science or common society deems, what does a baby exist at 3 months or 4 months or whatever, there's still a living thing. You are a living thing at that time, okay? So, what happens? Once we portal into this physical universe, that door opening the spirit and the physical, coming out of the spirit into the physical, okay? The heartbeat develops. Everything starts from the heart. That's the first thing that's developed, okay? Heart has an electrical pulse that runs through it, okay? That's why when you die or when you're in the process of dying, they're trying to save you. The last resort they do is try to send an electrical pulse back through your body because your body must be charged and able to move in this physical realm. Okay, we have electricity that runs through us. Okay, we are electrical beings amongst other things. Okay, so that's something we can't get around. There's a process with that. We get into photons and understanding that it's all connected. All right, so we're dealing with the interface, which is the physical body. And the thing about that and how that connects to the holographic universe is the physical body is a lot like the remote control to a video game. I use this analogy a lot of times with Grand Theft Auto. Life is like Grand Theft Auto, and I stick firm to like that. Okay, and I'm gonna break it down even more with this interface with the holographic universe. Okay, first of all, holographic universe is what we know as or refer to as physical reality. Okay, so in terms of this Grand Theft Auto analogy that I'm going to use, the physical realm or the holographic universe would be the game playing on your console. Okay, the game playing the console into the TV console connection. That is the physical universe. Okay, now you can sit here and watch the game being played. Okay, from the spirit realm. Spirits watching what's going on in the world. But if you actually want to interact and take part in the game, you have to have a remote control. Okay? Remote control is a physical body. You have to have a physical body to interact with the physical realm. Okay? For your spirit to connect and interact. So now the process is the person who's holding the remote control, that is your spirit, that is your soul, that is your higher self holding the remote control, trying to send you messages, trying to manipulate through this physical body, everything within the physical, to create things on this screen, on the video game screen that we're watching or interacting with. That's how the interface process interacts with this holographic universe. To get even deeper in that, to understand why everybody's experience could be altered or slightly different based upon numerous variables, but more consistent with what we're talking about, the quality of your remote control, your physical body. Okay, if your physical body, your remote control has a weak joystick, or the B button don't respond all the time, that affects what happens in the game and how you're able to interact with the game. Just like if you are born with a deformity, it affects how you matriculate through this physical realm. If you're born with a mental deformity, or you're dyslexic, these things affect your physical reality and how you proceed through this life. If you're born without hearing, if you're born deaf, or even if you lose these functions after being born, it still affects the way you matriculate and the way you interact with this physical realm. Okay? If you're blind, you can't see color. You can't see anything. Okay? All this makes sense. For me personally, I am partially colorblind. I found this out in middle school. Long story short, there was a project I was doing, and I was in charge of doing the art designs. We had to draw a comic book, and I did the comic book, presented to the class. Everything was great. Teacher was like, yo, great presentation, everything. Quick question. Why are the people in your comic book green? Are they aliens or something? I was confused because I'm like, no, these are black people. I painted them brown. Well, we found out then, no, Royce, that's not brown. That is green. Those people are colored. That's when I realized that, okay, you know what? Certain colors don't show up in my reality the way they might to other people. Okay, there's still something just part of my reality based upon functions of my controller interfacing with this holographic realm that we're in. So to understand people like why they call it a holographic universe, like you're trying to say it's digitized. No, the way we interact with it is though. Okay, again, like I spoke to on, I believe, the second video of this thing, we talked about, yes, with unseen reality, we spoke about how, there are spectrums of light, or light on the spectrum that we can't see. Certain lights that's not visible to our human eye because we don't have those functions in our control. Just like there's certain sound levels, sound decibels that are not picked up by our ears because we don't have that in our control. So it affects how we interact with this holographic world. Doesn't mean those light beams aren't real. Doesn't mean those sound frequencies aren't real. It just means we're not able to tap into them with our current physical technology, or our remote control doesn't have that ability on it. Okay, So it affects the reality we see. If we could see all the color spectrums and hear all the various things, it would change our whole entire reality and how we proceed through it. Okay. Um. So that's the thing we have to understand, and to bring all this in with uh influence and unseen realities, how we physically interface, how our spirits physically interface with this world plays into the energy and frequency that we emit out into this world. Okay? So moving forward with that from that angle, I'm just trying to stay in line to connect this with where we're going. So once you understand the spirit's connection to the body and how it's interfacing with this physical realm, that there are things you control and activate in this physical body to affect the holographic universe. Just like when you're playing the video game, there are things you can do that will change the way the video games go. That'll make changes in the video game, and the video games can respond to your actions and your input. Okay? The world does the same thing. The input, the things you input into the world responds to in various ways. Okay? Your influence, there's a response. Like it's like was it Newton or either Newton or either Einstein's uh, a force in motion continue at motion until acted on by another force or whatnot. And for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. Yes, you are a force. We are all individual forces. A force is a process of action. Okay, you are active. If you're alive and not dead, you're charged. You're active in some sort. Okay, everything you do and everything you don't do is a force that affects the energy and the things around you. Okay, now in turn, based upon what you do, what you put out there, there's going to be a response. Okay? So now, you can't control the response. All you can control is the input. And that's where all the power is. Okay? Because the right input will get the right response, just like in the video game. Okay, if you're playing like Street Fighter or like some of the combat games where you have to put in a certain combination of, you have to hit buttons in a certain way to make a player do something. If you're playing Street Fighter and you want Ryu to shoot a fireball, you have to hit the remote controls in the right combination in order for that to happen. If you don't do it in the right combination, it's not going to happen, no matter how bad you might want to make the character shoot the fireball. You still have to align the process the correct way in order to do that. Our life is no different. We're trying to do things in this physical realm. Yes, we have desires, we have wants, we have motivations to do things in this universe. But there's still a science, a way of how things must be done in order to get the desired result. Okay? And that just is. Now, the more you get aligned, the more knowledgeable you are of that process, the more efficient you can move throughout this holographic universe. So, with that understanding, and that understanding is key because all of this is all affecting our here and now and our moving forward. People a lot of times try to separate spirit, physical, mental, heart, and all these things, but no, it's all interacting, interconnected. And the more we understand about each intricacy of those connections, whether it's mental, whether it's spiritual, whether it's the heart, whether it's the physical, and understand how they overlap and interact, the more we can get out of this, okay? The more we can get out of this life, out of our experiences, as well as um, the input that we put into this life. Because you can put a whole lot of energy into the wrong things and not get the desired result and not understand why it's not happening. I'm a good person, or I mean well and everything, blah, blah. But you still got to put the right process. With all that being said, if you don't do the right process, you just be a good person who's struggling and dealing with all these things because you still haven't figured out the correct process to do. And that process is irrelevant or independent of your morality. Okay, Oh, how are evil people succeeding this? Well, they understand certain processes that you may not understand, and they're using them with evil motivations, but they're processing it the correct way. Like I said, a gun don't care who's pulling the trigger. It's about the intention of the person who's holding the gun that determines whether this gun is used for good or for evil. It's the same way a lot of wisdom and a lot of knowledge is. It comes down to the moral basis based upon how it's used, not whether it can be used. It's about how it's used, and that comes with intention. So this is part of the reason why even before you really get into, oh, you want to, create this and create that and manifest things, you first need to get to a level inside yourself to where you have the proper intentions behind things and you actually are manifesting things you truly desire, because you can manifest things you don't desire as well by not understanding the full process. So that's really what we're all getting to with this whole series, and understanding man's connection um to the universe is to make it better for us as well as for everyone else encompassing the universe by getting a better understanding of our place in the universe as well as our ability. Because that's the biggest thing that is kept secret from us, is that we have a lot more power and influence in this physical world than we realize, and probably more than higher ups or other people would like us to know about, and us to really be active to activate. Okay, so what is all this for? Everything we're trying to, everything we're talking about here. Ultimately, if your focus is the greater good for yourself and for all, what you ultimately want to aspire to is what is commonly known as Christ consciousness. Okay, and the thing is, Christ consciousness is a state of being that is available to all, even the one who commonly known as Jesus the Christ from a Christian lore. Even in the Bible, it says, uh, Jesus himself said, ye shall do even greater things than I have. And that may not be the actual quote. I can pull up the verse, but he tells his followers, or those, people who are listening to him, you can do it too. Everything I'm doing, you can do as well. If there's no difference between me and you other than the fact that I actually took the time and the discipline to learn these things. It's up to you as well. And not only that, I'm not even the best at this. That's why he said you will do even greater things. Because if everything is supposed to compound and build natural process of evolution, then yes, those who come after you are supposed to go to a higher level. They're supposed to take this on the standing on the shoulders of where you've realized it and take it to the next level. There's no exception to that, and Jesus understood that. That's why he's saying, "Hey, y'all can be even better than me if y'all really get this thing down and get it and learn it." Okay, so getting into Christ consciousness, it's a thing that has to be tuned into. Like I said, or like we spoke about in the unseen realities, um, part of this physical uh, interface, if you will, is we're focus my thoughts back again. Part of this physical interface is that it's a lot like uh I guess it's a transistor radio. Okay, you output a signal, which we've already spoke about in regards to influence, the signal that's being emitted from you, whether you're aware of it or not. Now, tuning that signal, like if you're familiar with the times when radio wasn't necessarily digital like it is now, and you have to tune the station, the antenna to the right station. There's multiple stations available that you can tune into, but you can only be tuned properly aligned with one particular station at a time. Okay, so Christ consciousness is a station, so to speak. But again, if you're trying to get to here in Atlanta, one of the oldest, not anyway, there's a station called V103, the People Station. Now, to tune in to V103, the actual dial numbers is 103.3. Okay, so You have to tune into 103.3 exactly in order to get that signal. Not 103.2, not 103.5, 103.3 specifically. Even if you go a little bit more and you're at 103.3.33C3 something, you're going to get static. You're not going to get a clear signal because you're not completely aligned with the proper signal. So once you align with this proper, with whatever signal you're trying to tune into, something is going to be emitted through those speakers, or from your essence, so to speak. Okay, so when you're tuned into the frequency of anger, what gets emitted? Rage, frustration. You raise your voice. That's the energy that gets put out based upon the frequency you're tuned into. You get the point. I'm not going to elaborate on that, but yes. So processing and existing in this world and tuning into Christ consciousness is much the same way. Now, what is the process of tuning it? It's a physical process. It's a mental process. It's a spiritual process. All these things intertwine into the tuning process. Okay. Um, Physically, like we spoke about in unseen realities, hydration, food, nutrients. These things affect your physical body and how you're physically processed. Remember, if you don't have the proper nutrients in your body, or if you're dehydrated, your brain doesn't function the way it's supposed to, or doesn't function at its most optimal ability. There's other physical deficiencies that can come about based upon health habits. These are physical things. Okay, well, guess what? Without the physical, you can't do anything in this world. Okay, so you got to take care of your physical body to help better facilitate the things you're trying to do in this physical realm. Even someone as influential as what's the guy who was paralyzed, Stephen Hawkins, with everything that the mental capacity that he had, that man had. Okay, he could have been even more influential if he had a matching physical ability aligned with his mental ability. Okay, so he was somewhat hindered in his ability in this physical realm to interface with the physical realm based upon his physical. Okay, the fact that he was paralyzed, that is one factor that affected his experience interfacing in this world. Okay, even though he was a genius, that still plays a part. Okay, it's not there's no one thing that can be separate from other parts. They're all intricate parts that work together. So whether it's physical, whether it's mental, what are things are you reading? Are you learning about? What things are you opening your mind to? What things are influencing your thoughts? These things play into your tuning. Okay. Um, and again, the emotions that you hold, the emotions that you allow to influence you, the emotions that you dwell on, all of these things affect your tuning. Okay. You can't stay tuned in and aligned with your higher self if you're constantly entertaining thoughts and emotions of anger, of depression, of just pure lust, things like that. All these things take away, they cause static from the signal you're trying to attune to. If you're trying to attune to your higher self, your most optimal self while you're in this physical realm. Okay. So to kind of bring it, I want to say to a whole, and hopefully I can land this properly. You are a force in this world, in this universe, okay? In the way, I might have to re-edit this. I'm taking some time really to try to put my thoughts together. You are a force in this universe, whether you realize it or not. Your physical body is equipped with a generator to generate reality in this holographic world. Because everything in this holographic world originated as a thought first, that someone manifested through the processes to something physical. Okay? So, by you taking authority over yourself and controlling what you allow to influence you, controlling what you allow yourself to focus on, um, deciding what habits you will maintain to maintain your physical body while you're still here in this life. All these things serve to create an energy force inside of you that is then projected outside of you, whether you like it or not. Okay, your inner energy is projected outside of you, whether you like it or not. The thing is to learn how to properly generate the right energy to manifest the proper response or the desired response in things in this physical realm. Okay. And that is your influence in this world. And you are an influence in this world, just like you're a force in this world, whether you know it or not, whether you're aware of it or not. Okay. So the thing is, one, control your input. Okay. Control what you allow to influence. Control the things, the places you dwell in, the people you allow in your circle, the things you allow to influence you, what you listen to, what you focus on, what you think about, what you dwell on. Okay, that dictates what goes inside, as well as your physical, what you eat, your activities, exercise, whatnot. All this is input. Okay, now with this input, this signal input, physically, because you are filled with water, the energy, the thoughts, the things that you're dwelling on are bleeding into that water that's inside of you. Okay, that H2O. Because remember, that water, the H2O, can get programmed. Okay, so as you're walking around all day, 98 degrees inside, your brain, your body is generating a certain signal. Okay, that signal that it's generating is influencing the water and the cells within your body. The same way as individuals praying over some water, okay? The thought and the intention that goes into this water, the thought and the intention that you're holding in your mind, that you hold in your body, okay? That's programming this water. That's programming this water, okay? Now, as you go about your life, okay, just like the sun's going to evaporate this water, that 98-degree generator, and you move about, it's going to evaporate that water that's inside. That's why we're constantly losing water, constantly losing fluid. But again, the intent and energy that we transmitted into this water cannot be destroyed. It can be dispersed. Okay. So the same energy and influence that we're generating within and the water that's within us, it is being dispersed out of us constantly. Okay. We're not always aware of it, but it's being dispersed into the atmosphere around us. Atmosphere, the air. We spoke about that in part two. The air is everywhere. O2, oxygen, O2 is everywhere. Oxygen is in water and it's in the air around us, okay? So now we're all in this fishbowl of air. So now that same energy and intent that is being generated within your body, that is influencing the water in your body, when that water leaves your body, evaporates, cries, or whatnot, through many means, that energy is also leaving your body and going into the world and the area around you. Now, the more people that align with a particular energy, the greater that energy's influence becomes in the world that we live in. Okay? The more people who say, you know what, I agree with that thought, or I align with that thought, or I'm going to follow that thought, the bigger that influence becomes. Okay? The bigger the influence becomes, the state of the world changes in response based upon the energy that is being generated by individuals here, as we've already spoke about. When people have mass group meditations and everybody's focused on one individual goal, or one purpose, that effect can actually be tracked. It has been tracked. So if your highest self or your most optimal self is what you're trying to project into the world, what you're trying to become, what you're trying to evolve into be, in the process of doing that, you're going to have to align with Christ consciousness. And aligning with, and again, Christ consciousness is like a frequency, just like we talk about the light spectrum and the sound spectrum. It's something that's already in existence we're able to tap into. Okay. And it's part of your highest self. Now, by aligning with that, you become a station for that, just like I spoke about V103. Okay. If somebody's driving in their car, okay, and they tune into that station, well, now they're projecting that station out. So now anybody who's around that car can hear what the channel, the music or whatever's coming through that station V103 that they're tuned into. And if somebody says, "Man, I like what you listen, what is that? I'm all this V103 over this Christ consciousness. Oh man, I need to tune into that." They do the same thing you did, right? That's why Christ said, "I am the way." He didn't mean like he himself personally, like, "Hey, you gotta be me or you gotta come through me." No, you gotta do the same thing I did. That is the way. Okay. So if I did this, if I had to tune my station to 103.3 in order to get this signal, you gotta do the same thing. You gotta find a way to tune your signal to 103.3. Then you can get the same thing, get access to the same input signals that I'm getting, and then you'll broadcast the same signal out around you. And the more people who hear this signal and decide they want to broadcast the same thing, they will have to do the process, find a way to tune themselves to the proper channel so that they can also emit that. So now, if everybody on the freeway is all tuned in to the same station, well, guess what? That signal is amplified. It's gonna sound like a block party going on because everybody's tuned into the same station. Okay, that's the same thing that really influences and affects this world. Okay, the realities and the things going on in society is based upon people's thoughts and people's collective thoughts grouping together. Okay, whether it's political, social, the gender wars, all these things are all influenced by the dominant thought in our society or the dominant thought processes in our society at this time. And you're part of that. But the question is, what part of that are you playing? Which comes back to the question I asked at the end of the first video on influence. What are you projecting out of here? What is your contribution to this reality that we're all existing in? Because you're contributing something, whether you are aware of it or not, whether you're conscious of it or not, you're contributing something. Okay, this is what it all comes down to. I can really pretty much end the series with that, because like I told you, we'll come back to influence. We're gonna come full circle. Okay, and we have. So it still comes back to: do you really know what you're putting out in the universe? Are you really conscious? Are you consciously putting things out into the universe, or is it just happening inconsequentially, just haphazardly? You just fold it on, or whatever happens. Or are you like, no, I'm gonna focus on this particular energy so that I can manifest the things that I desire, my most optimal self or whatnot, and be a beacon of that for others. Because again, just like back to the station, when someone hears what you're tuned to, broad pumping out your speakers, they either gonna align with it, which everybody wants. Some people might hear it and they don't want a part of that. They want to listen to something else. They want to be tuned into something else. You can't control that. That's not on you. Just like when I put these videos out, I can't control how people respond to them or whatnot. That's not on me to do. Only thing on me to do is what I'm doing, the input, to put it out there, broadcast the signal, focus on myself, making myself the best version of myself so that I can put out the best signal or the most optimal signal um based upon, my own, I'm saying, desires or aspirations in this physical realm, which for one is to have peace amongst my brethren, you know what I'm saying? So part of accomplishing that is that I myself have to be a beacon to project that. Well, there's peace, love, and prosperity, right? You know, I thought about peace, love, and prosperity. Well, guess what? I've got to be attuned for peace, love, and prosperity within myself to attract those things and to manifest those things in my immediate reality as well as reality as a whole. Um, I think I'm just gonna end it right there. I don't want to just, I can keep on elaborating, but I think we've landed it. You know, you come down to the influence and the fact that you have influence in this universe, whether you recognize it or not. Then part of your goal is in properly aligning yourself so that you can be responsible with the energy that you're putting out, and you can put out the energy that you truly desire to put out and manifest the life you want. So with all this being said, what is part of the key to doing all of this? I gotta leave you with some tools that you can use to help activate this, take control of the influence that you're generating, help tune into all these things. And it's one word, it's meditation. And I'm gonna break it down into practical sense. The greatest benefit from meditation that I have received and that plays in all of this is the ability to tune into your own thoughts, to be aware of what's going on up here. Because I'm sure, as many of you have heard before, there's several thousand thoughts that go through the human mind in a day. The issue is most of us are not really aware of the thoughts that's processing in our mind throughout the day. We're unconscious of the thoughts going through our mind. Um, and those thoughts are directly affecting what's generating the signal being put out. Okay? And it's not just the fact that we're having thoughts, but it's also the thoughts that we have the most frequent. That's where frequency comes in. What's your frequency? Where are you frequently coming back to? How frequent do you have certain thoughts, certain energies, certain emotions resonating inside of you? Because the more frequent thoughts, emotions are what you're going to be aligning to and what you're going to be outputting in the universe. You can say one thing, but if you're constantly thinking the other opposite, that's what's going out. So that, I believe, is your biggest tool in manifesting anything, is the power of meditation. For the simple fact that meditation allows you to control what thoughts you dwell on. And I say it that way because you can't always control the thoughts that come into your mind, okay? But you can control what you focus on, okay? And just like you change the channel, you can change your thoughts, but only once you become aware of them. Like, and you can do it instantly. The same way you can walk into a room and see something playing on the TV and be like, I don't want to watch that. Turn that channel just like that. You have a thought coming to your mind that you don't want to focus on. As soon as you're aware of that thought, hey, I don't want to be thinking about this right now. Turn that channel. Um, Thank you for taking the time to check me out. Uh, check back part 1 and part 2 if you haven't already. And till next time, peace, love, and prosperity. Always.